Hello, and welcome to TapTalk. My name is Kenny, and I'm an editor at Tapread.com. Alright people, it's time to put on your theology hats, because today we're discussing Rebirth in Chinese literature. What? What do you mean theology hats aren't a thing? Tell that to the Pope! Anyway, if you've read any of our novels on Tapread, you probably realize that rebirth is a common theme. It's even included in some of the titles. Now, it's important to understand that rebirth may mean different things to different people. For example, some may think of born-again Christians who have found a new life through religion, while others might take it more literally, like a phoenix burning itself to death and then rising from the ashes. What's that? Does Jon Snow count? I mean, he was more frozen and stabbed than burned, but fine, yes. Jon Snow counts as a rebirth. For the purposes of most of the stories on Tapread, though, we're not talking about metaphorical rebirth or even resurrection. We're talking about something entirely different. The type of rebirth used in modern Chinese fiction varies between novels, but what they all have in common is that they borrow from the concepts of reincarnation and transmigration. Now, from a Buddhist perspective, reincarnation... What? But I put in all that research! Fine. I'm being told we don't have time for an in-depth lecture on theology, but that's okay, because most of what we'll be discussing is fiction, not actual religion, so please remember that before you shout at me in the comments. Anyway, here are the main things you need to know. Reincarnation is prominently found in Jainism, Hinduism, and Buddhism, and it's essentially, as a concept, the idea that the human soul is transferable between bodies. The process typically begins with the death of a physical body. The soul then moves on, but there are differing schools of thought on what happens next, and like a lot of schools of thought, and wars have been fought over it. Now, in fiction, a lot of things can happen next, but there are three main factors to consider for any rebirth story. Item number 1, the body. Some stories involve the reborn character coming back to life in their own body, while others involve the character coming back to life in a different body, like an already existing body, not one that was just conjured out of the ether. It should be noted that when an old soul goes into a new body, the memories of the new body are often retained. For anyone being reborn into my body, I highly recommend ignoring the memories of 10th grade. Highly recommend. Number 2, the soul. Unlike bodies, souls are a little more tricky. When a soul leaves the body, it can go into a body that has no other soul, such as the body it just left, or the body of a person who's just died. If the reborn soul enters a new body that already has a soul in it, though, what basically happens is those two souls merge into one new soul, essentially creating a new person. Number 3, the time and place. When a character is reborn, it can do some funky things to the space-time continuum. They may have been their own body, but 10 years in the past. Maybe they found themselves in a new world or entirely different plane of existence. Or perhaps they're picking up at the same time and world in which they died, just in a different body. What's that? No, Back to the Future does not fit in this category. Yes, I'm sure. Yes, I will fight you over it. Anyway, let's look at some examples of rebirth from the novels on Tapread. Reborn femme fatale first daughter follows Mo Zhetong, who dies in a fire after being betrayed by her family and then is reborn several years before the tragedy occurs. Now she's trying to get revenge for things people haven't even technically done yet. Pretty interesting. The General's Genius Daughter is a story about Hua Chuye, who is murdered by her husband and his mistress, and then is instantly reborn in the body of a disgraced noblewoman. She then sets out to save her son from them and get revenge on her murderers. The Emperor Reigns Them All involves the soul of a man from another world merging with the body and soul of Prince Li Yu, who is ostracized because he can't do magic. Now, the new person that's formed from the merging of these souls can see the horrible future that was originally intended for Prince Li Yu, and it sets out to prevent that future from happening. As you can probably tell, because you generally need the dying thing to happen before being reborn, most Rebirth novels tend to emphasize revenge and righting wrongs. Just like I'll eventually get revenge on my neighbor Keith. He knows what he did. And I think that about covers it. I hope this video has helped give you a better understanding of Rebirth and how it's used in Chinese fiction. Please remember to like, subscribe, visit tapread.com, and download the Tapread app for access to hundreds of exclusive, unique novels. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on TapTalk.